Am I saving enough for retirement? Now, no matter where you are in your savings journey, the answer to this question is crucial to securing your long-term financial independence and building a legacy. Now, the truth is that some individuals often focus on a savings number instead of a lifestyle outcome. In fact, some will tell you that all you need to do is save up to 6 times your salary by the time you're 50 and you're all set, right? Well, the truth is that some individuals spend so much time focused on how big their nest egg should be that they often forget what their figure represents in the first place. That's why when thinking about how much you're saving for retirement, one approach you may want to consider is setting aside enough money to cover your future living expenses, which will enable you to make big gifts or big ticket purchases and also deal with potential unexpected health concerns at the same time. Now, make no mistake, rules of thumbs and round numbers are helpful in figuring all of this out. But knowing what those figures represent with a greater degree of precision can give you peace of mind, knowing that you've saved enough now to meet those future needs when you finally decide to walk away from that job. Indeed, when it comes to effectively planning for your retirement, knowing how much you have to set aside now to meet future lifestyle obligations can make the difference between living comfortably and living in anxiety during your golden years. And so how do you determine how much to set aside now to cover future costs besides using these rules of thumb? Well, to figure out your ideal retirement nest egg need, you'll first need to understand what your lifestyle will look like after you stop working. And so how do you go about figuring out this number when you're 10, 20, or even 30 years away from retirement? Well, let's take a step back and take a look at a few ways to calculate your anticipated living expenses even when they're so far away in the future. Now, to start, you can use a basic approach by comparing your future lifestyle spending anticipated needs to your current household expenditures. Now, the point here in making this comparison is to establish a baseline for a retirement budget based on your current spending trends. Now, this approach is rather straightforward because it provides a clear, relatable benchmark of future spending needs and answers a simple question of, will you spend more or less in the future compared to how you're spending today? And so how does this work? Well, if you currently enjoy gourmet dining and weekend getaways, then it's reasonable to assume that these preferences will continue into retirement and possibly even grow as you have more time to indulge your key interests. That's why you'll want to account for this lifestyle change and ensure that you're saving enough to meet your future spending needs. Now, another way to figure out your future spending needs is to take a more introspective approach by visualizing what your daily life in retirement would look like. Here, this approach goes a little deeper because what you're doing is picturing not just your daily activities, but also where you're at, who you're with, and how you feel at the time. And now, while this work requires a more softer approach, the approach is nevertheless invaluable because it provides a comprehensive, emotionally resonant understanding of your future needs. How so? Well, imagine yourself in a typical week during retirement. Here you might see yourself taking a cooking class in Tuscany, volunteering at a local school in your community, or enjoying a leisurely morning with your family on your estate. And so what this visualization does is that it helps you tailor your financial planning and savings needs to those specific goals by allowing you to take a step back and actually visualize what you want to accomplish so that you can assign some hard numbers to support these daily activities. And here again, that's something that using a basic rule of thumb will be hard pressed to give you. And finally, when it comes to figuring out how much money you'll need to save to cover your future living expenses, consider using your value systems as a guide for how you want to get there. Now, you'll recall that your value system is simply a collection of guiding principles and beliefs that influence your behaviors and the decisions you make. And so why should you consider your values when it comes to calculating your retirement savings need? Well, that's because when you focus on what you hold most dear, it's easier to understand the where and the when and how you plan to spend that money. Indeed, while your interest and your circumstances can change over time, the fact is that your values are often more consistent from one decade to the next. So then if family and community have always been central to your life, then having enough money set aside for family trips and dining out with your loved ones will be significant aspects of your retirement spending and therefore something you may want to plan and save for. Here, ultimately, it's not just about figures in your bank account, but also ensuring that those figures enable a retirement that's rich in experiences, supports your relationships, and enables your own personal fulfillment. All right, so once you have your future lifestyle spending all mapped out, you're all set, right? Well, not so fast. And that's because beyond your regular routines, you'll also need to consider big ticket spending that's likely to come your way. Indeed, as you navigate your path towards a fulfilling and affluent retirement, it's crucial to recognize your financial journey extends beyond your personal comfort and your own personal security. That's because when we're talking about generational wealth or building a legacy, when it comes down to it, you're not just building a nest egg for your own retirement. In many ways, you're building wealth that you want to leave behind to your family, right? So then this legacy isn't solely about the wealth you accumulate, but also the impactful gifts that you can offer to your loved ones. And these gifts likely will make a big difference during key events like financing your grandchildren's education, or providing seed capital for your children's first home or for their startups, or ultimately supporting large family ventures. And so why does doing any of this planning matter right now? Well, think about it. You can imagine the joy and the pride of contributing to your grandchildren's college education or enabling them to pursue their dreams without the burden of student loans. Or you could also imagine the satisfaction of providing that seed capital to your children, or empowering them to buy their first home, or even allowing them to embark on their own entrepreneurial journey. Now, in this context, these are not just financial transactions that you're saving for, they're the cornerstones of your family legacy, which weaves your story together into the fabric of the rising generation. So then it's crucial to look beyond just your desired lifestyle spending needs and begin planning for these big gifts and large expenditures. That's why your approach to retirement planning should be a finely tuned process that goes beyond ensuring a comfortable lifestyle, and one that involves a detailed understanding of your one-off spending needs that encompasses your personal expenses and your aspirational contributions to family milestones. All right, so with all this said, what steps can you take now to plan for these irregular spending goals in the future? Well, you can start by thinking about what kind of gifts you may want to give and what these gifting goals mean to you. For instance, consider your desire to fund your grandchildren's college education needs. You could spend some time researching the current cost for various college expenses and project these costs into the future considering inflation. So then if a 4-year degree costs around $200,000 today, a conservative estimate might suggest that this could inflate to well over $500,000 or more in the next 18 years. At the same time, if you're considering setting aside seed capital for a child's home or business need, then look at current market values in what you might consider to be an ideal neighborhood and project those costs into the future. Ultimately, this step is more than just pinpointing exact figures, but getting into a realistic range to work with when it comes to how much you need to save. All right, the next thing you'll want to do is evaluate your current and future financial situation, including your savings, your investments, and your expected income streams when you're retired. Here, what you're trying to do is understand how much of your current wealth can be allocated toward these savings goals without compromising your own lifestyle needs in retirement. In other words, if your aim is to save $300,000 for a grandchild's education, then what you'll need to do is understand how the spending goal fits into your overall investment plan. Then what you'll need to do is to gauge whether your portfolio can actually accommodate this needs, given your anticipated expected rate of return and your anticipated cash drawdowns in the future. At the same time, if you plan to provide $100,000 of seed capital to your children's business startup in 15 years from now, then you'll likely need to consider how much you'll need to invest now, given your portfolio's potential growth rate. And finally, based on your gifting goals and current financial situation, you'll want to consider developing an investment strategy that aligns with all of these objectives. How so? Well, a long-term savings goals like funding education spending for your grandchildren in 18 years might require you to lean towards a savings and investment strategy with a higher growth potential, given this extended time horizon. On the other hand, for a shorter-term goal that's just a few years away, a more balanced approach might be suitable here instead. Here, for example, if you need to accumulate an extra $300,000 over 18 years to fund additional education spending, and considering an average annual rate of 6% returns for your investment portfolio, then you'll likely need to set aside around $1,000 per month. Either way, it's crucial to remember that these steps here are iterative and should be revisited on a regular basis. That's because financial markets, life goals, and life change will inevitably happen. So then by frequently reviewing and occasionally adjusting your plan, what you're doing is ensuring that it remains aligned with your goals and reflect your current market realities. At the same time, by following this process, what you're doing is setting a clear path towards achieving your gifting goals and ensuring that these ambitions enrich your family's future without compromising your financial security during your golden years. All right, so now that we've talked about figuring out your future lifestyle needs and factoring in one-off spending as part of your savings and retirement nest egg, one final thing to consider is planning for your healthcare needs just in case you need the help. Indeed, as you're meticulously planning for the future, one where you can generously support your loved ones and enjoy a comfortable retirement, it's also crucial to remember how unforeseen medical expenses could impact your and your family's lifestyle if you're not ready for them. Now, before you go off and ignore these costs, the fact is that these expenses are often underestimated when it comes to financial planning, and this forecasting error can significantly derail even the most well thought out post-employment plans. How so? Well, imagine that you've carefully calculated what you need to fund your grandkids' education, you're ready to support your children's first business venture, and you're now living the sweet life, enjoying your retirement years, traveling and pursuing your hobbies. Then all of a sudden, tragedy hits. An unexpected health issue arises, like a sudden illness or chronic condition, or ultimately the need for long-term care comes up. And so what happens? Well, your hope for funding these gifting goals likely could come to an end, and the financial implications could be staggering. How so? Well, consider the cost of long-term care. Here, these costs can easily run into thousands of dollars per month if you're not planned for it. And even with the most robust retirement plan in place, this level of expense can rapidly deplete your financial resources, especially when you're trying to cover too many spending items or spending goals at the same time. So then, without adequate planning to cover your health-related expenses, you might find yourself in a position where the funds you intended to use for your grandkids' education or your children's business startup now needs to be redirected to cover your medical needs. And so this shift not only impacts your financial stability, but also alters the legacy you had envisioned for your life and for your family. At the same time, it's crucial to note that healthcare costs typically rise faster than general inflation. And so as you age, the likelihood of needing more extensive medical care increases at a faster clip. So then what this reality means is that healthcare costs can become a progressively more significant part of your overall retirement budget and potentially squeeze out other planned expenditures. And so what can you do to mitigate these expenses and avoid running your nest egg dry and ensure that you have enough saved for retirement? Well, to start, consider contributing to a health savings account or an HSA. Now, the great thing about HSAs is that they offer a triple tax advantage where contributions are tax deductible, the account grows tax-free, and withdrawals used for qualified medical expenses are not taxed as well. Now, for someone in a high tax bracket, this can be a significant benefit. Now, an additional point to consider here is that funds in an HSA can be invested much like a 401k, allowing for more compounded growth over time. And now, this growth can be especially advantageous if you start early and let the account compound over time because it can provide a substantial reserve for your healthcare costs in retirement. So then as you review your HSA options, consider how they fit into your overall investment strategy, evaluate your investment options within the HSA, and align them with your overall risk tolerance and your investment time horizon. Now, another approach to consider when preparing for medical expenses is purchasing long-term care insurance to defray costs and preserve your retirement savings. Indeed, given the high cost of long-term care and the likelihood of needing it as you age, depending on your situation, long-term care insurance could be a critical component of your overall financial plan. That's because this coverage helps cover the costs that regular health insurance or Medicare doesn't, which includes help with daily activities and covering nursing home care should you need it. So then when exploring long-term care insurance, consider factors like the benefit period, daily benefit amount, inflation protection, and the waiting period before benefits actually kick in. Ultimately, balancing these factors or these benefits with premium costs will be key to ensuring that this approach is a right fit for you. And finally, if you anticipate that your assisted living expenses will be more than temporary, then joining a continuous care retirement community or CCRC might be an attractive option to help you manage your future healthcare costs. Now, these communities offer a spectrum of care from independent living to assisted living and skilled nursing care, all in one location. And the benefit here is that this community of care can provide peace of mind and simplify future financial planning. Even so, when considering a CCRC, it's crucial to understand the financial model that the community is operating under, like what entrance fees the community charges and what ongoing monthly fees typically look like, because these expenses can vary widely. So then reviewing the contract types offered by these CCRCs, whether that's life care or fee for service, the benefits that are included, and any additional costs involved is essential to understanding how this approach will fit into your overall financial plan. Now, it's also crucial to evaluate the quality of care you're likely to receive, the community's financial stability, and the lifestyle it offers to ensure it aligns with your expectations and your life values. Either way, not planning for potential medical expenses can drastically alter the outlook for your retirement plan and your legacy plans. Indeed, when not managed carefully, unexpected medical expenses can shift your financial focus from building and sharing wealth to managing healthcare costs, affecting not only your quality of life, but also your ability to fulfill your goals of leaving a legacy to your loved ones. You know, when it comes down to it, effectively planning for retirement extends beyond merely accumulating a certain set of assets. Indeed, it's about ensuring that the funds you set aside today align with the lifestyle you envision for your ideal future. And this includes not just covering your day-to-day living expenses, but also your ability to enjoy leisurely activities, support loved ones, and manage unforeseen healthcare expenses. So then by focusing on the life you wish to lead in your retirement and understanding what your savings represent, you can develop a more targeted and meaningful savings strategy that lasts the test of time. With this approach, you can move forward with confidence knowing that your savings will be sufficient for building generational wealth, all while taking you one step closer to becoming the master of your own financial independence journey. Well, that's it for now. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the FI Mastery Podcast. To learn more about today's topic, you can visit the episodes page at FImastery.com. And if you can find one person in your life who would find today's message helpful in getting their financial house in order, please share this episode with them. But until next time, I'm Peter Donisanu, wishing you and yours abundant health and prosperity.
The FI Mastery Podcast is brought to you by Franklin Madison Advisors, Inc. Franklin Madison Advisors is a registered investment advisor firm with its registration and principal place of business in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Registration of an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. This commentary and forecast are limited to the dissemination of general information pertaining to Franklin Madison Advisors' investment advisory services and general economic and market conditions and are subject to change without notice. The information shared today is not intended to be personal, legal, investment, or tax advice, or a solicitation to buy or sell any security or engage in a particular investment strategy. For additional information about Franklin Madison Madison Advisors, including fees and services, please contact Franklin Madison Advisors or refer to the investment advisor public disclosures.